To make each earring, you'll need a carved rose bead in turquoise. This is 10 millimeters across. You'll need a crystal pave bead. This is 6 millimeters. And you'll need a raspberry bicone, 4 millimeters for the raspberry bicone. And then you'll also need a teardrop crystal. And this teardrop crystal is drilled from the top to the bottom, which means the hole for it's down here at the bottom, and that's important. And this crystal teardrop is 8 millimeters across and 12 millimeters tall. We also have some gold findings. We've got a gold daisy spacer that's 4 millimeters, a gold ring here, and this is 12 millimeters, a gold earring wire, and 2 gold head pins. For wire, we're going to use 24 gauge wire that's in gold. And then for tools, we have round nose pliers and we have wire cutters. Before we get started making the earring, I want to show you one that's already made. This will be the match to the earring we're going to make. And I just wanted to show you this so you could see sort of how it's constructed and understand it while we're making it, what we're doing. We have a teardrop at the bottom, the daisy spacer's down here. It's attached with wire work to the rose bead here. And then we've got the loop with the raspberry bicone in the center, and then some more wire work up here connecting this pave to the earring wire. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And we're going to start with that teardrop. Here's our teardrop bead. And remember, it's drilled from the top to the bottom. You don't want one that's drilled this way. That's a different way to connect it. We're going to connect this with a head pin, so we need it drilled from top to bottom. And this one is going to have that cute little daisy spacer at the bottom, so we're going to put that on first. There's our daisy spacer. And that just adds a little bit of blingy design there at the bottom. And then we're going to feed on the teardrop. And now we're going to make a loop at the top of this, a little wrapped loop. And to do that, we're going to use the round nose pliers. I'm going to pinch right above the bead. I've got the wire nice and tight in the bead. And then I'm going to bend the wire 90 degrees over the round nose pliers. I'm going to move my pliers to the top of that bend. And then I'm going to push the wire over the top of the pliers to make a round shape. But I can't go all the way around because the bottom jaw is in the way. So I'm going to put the bottom jaw in, and then I'm going to pull the wire the rest of the way around. There's our little loop. And then to secure that, I'm going to hold the loop across with the round nose pliers, and then I'm going to pull the tail of the head pin around the neck there 2 times. And then I can trim that little end off with my wire cutters. And the wire cutters are flat on one side and they're angled on the other. We want to use the flat side towards the work, so it'll make a flat cut in the wire and not a pointy cut. I'm going to hold on to the tail while I cut that so it doesn't fly off. And then get rid of that. And there's our little dangle that will be at the bottom, our teardrop dangle. And you can see that's that part of the earring. And the next part will be our turquoise bead. For the turquoise bead, what we want to do is make a little loop at the bottom and a loop at the top so it will fit into the earring. So we're going to use some wire for that. This is our 24 gauge wire. When we bought it, we looked for this on the package where it says 24 gauge. So you'll want to look for that. And I'm just going to cut a piece about 3 inches long to use for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a loop at each end of the wire. And to do that, I'm going to grasp the wire the same way we did on top of the teardrop. I'm going to bend it 90 degrees. And then I'm going to reposition to the top of the bend, just like we did before. I'm going to go over the top of the pliers, reposition to the bottom pliers, and pull that wire around. And then we'll want to close it just like we did with the other one, but before we do, we want to slide on our teardrop. This is how we're going to construct the earring. We're going to connect these things together. And so I just need to slide it past where it crisscrosses. Now that's on there. Now I'm going to make the same kind of wrapped loop that we did on top of the teardrop bead. So I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to pull it around the neck 2 times. And then I'm going to trim it the same way with the flat side towards the project there. Hold on to the tail so it doesn't fly off. And there's our bottom part of the earring. Matches this one. And the next thing we want to do is add the turquoise bead. So we're going to feed on the turquoise bead. This is such a pretty carved bead, and I love this turquoise color. It's gorgeous. So looking at our guide earring, the one we already made, I can see the loop is next. So I'm going to make a wrapped loop that grabs onto that ring. And to do that, this is the same technique. We're going to do the same thing over and over. I pinch the wire where it comes out of the bead and make a 90-degree bend, reposition to the top of the bend, push the wire up and over the top jaw of the pliers, reposition to the bottom jaw, and pull that around to make that loop. There's our loop. And then before we close that loop, we need to put the ring in there. And this ring is just cut from a chain. We bought a nice chain with big gold links in it. And we've used it for a lot of projects, and some of them we just cut the links off and use them as a ring. So there's our ring, and now we need to wrap the bottom of that to secure it, same way we did before. I'm going to pinch across the loop that we made, and then I'm going to pull that tail around 2 times and then trim with the wire cutters. And be careful when you're reaching in there to trim that you don't cut through the earring. So there's our ring. This is actually very pretty and would make a nice earring just like that. You could just put the earring wire here and that'd be real cute. But we're going to add this little pave and bicone. So to add the bicone, we're going to use the other head pin for that. I'm going to feed the head pin right through the bottom of the bicone, and I'm going to make a little dangle out of this. This is just the same stuff we've been doing. I'm going to pinch it above the bead, bend 90 degrees, reposition to the top, push the wire over the top of the round nose pliers, reposition so I can pull the wire around the bottom jaw to get that complete loop. And this one we can actually close now. So it's just a dangle. We will catch it and include it in the next piece of wire work. So it's just going to dangle from inside our ring. So there's the little dangle that's going to go inside that ring. And this is our last bead that we're going to add to the earring. And it goes here at the top. And this is where there's a little piece of magic. We're going to make a connector just like we did before. And in that bottom loop, when we finish that bottom loop, we're going to include the ring and the dangle in that bottom loop. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to cut a piece of wire, again about 3 or 4 inches. The wire's inexpensive, so don't worry about using more than you need. It's nice to have extra wire. And I'm going to make a loop in one end. So I grab it, kind of a third of the way down. I'm going to make a 90-degree bend. I'm going to reposition so I'm at the top of that bend. And I'm going to push the wire over the top. So I'm just letting the round shape of the round nose pliers make the round shape of the loop. And I reposition to the bottom and finish making that loop. So this is when we're going to add the bicone and the ring to the earring. So I'm going to slide the bicone into that loop, and then I'm going to slide the ring into the loop. And you have to kind of feed it in where the wires crisscross a little bit. So I'm just going to, there it goes. Now it's in there. So you can see those hang together by putting them in the same loop. So now we're going to finish that with a wrapped loop like we did before. That's the loop. This is the wrap. I hold it across the loop and I pull that tail around 2 times. 1 and 2. And then cut the end. You'll get very good at making wrapped loops from making a pair of these earrings because you do it so many times. I'm going to press this little end down with my pliers. I have just a little end sticking up. I could also trim it a little closer than that. But that's pretty good. And then next we're going to feed on our pave bead. The pave bead is has rhinestones embedded in it, so that's why it's so glittery. It's rhinestones all the way around, and it just adds a lot of bling to this. It's very pretty. So that's our last bead, and we're going to make a wrapped loop at the top of this bead, just like all the others. I'm going to pinch the wire above the bead, make a 90-degree bend, reposition to the top of that bend, push the wire up over the top jaw, reposition to the bottom jaw, and pull the wire around. And then this one I can close off. I can pull that tail around the neck 2 times, reach under there, 1 and 2, and then reach in there and trim the wire. So we're almost done here. The last thing to do is to put the earring onto the earring wire. If your ring won't fit over the ball of your earring wire, you can always feed it on the back of your earring wire, just a little tip, and bring that around to the front. Now we just close that opening of the earring wire with our round nose pliers. I'm just pressing that closed. And that's the match to our other earring. Remember, when you go to make these, you'll want to buy 2 of everything so that you can have this pair of pretty turquoise flower bead drop earrings.